Good morning. Hand today is going to be 10-9 of spades. In this hand, we have a limper. I isolate, and then we get a call. And I'll tell you, limper and the big blind folds. So I do want to go over the limper's hand. Here, he's playing 36-2. We've got 650 hands, almost 650 hands here, and you can see in early position he's playing 39% of hands with 1% pre-flop raise, 1% free raise first in stat. So 1 out of 107, 1 out of 121. This guy's passive. If he's playing, he's limping, and we know that he's limping pretty wide. So it's looking something. This is 37%. It's pretty wide. We're gonna delete that because he folds. But I present that because we're isolating. So if we go to our MP raise, you can see 10-9 is not in our always isolate raise range, but it is on our optional. I think this is a great spot to expand to the optional raises because this player is so wide. He's so wide, you know he's going to be folding, probably folding a lot. You could just tell from the limp fold, 31%. So 30% chance he's going to fold. Early position is 45%. I think most people know that early position players are usually tighter. This guy, no, I think he is playing probably the same range just across all positions. And that means it's going to be pretty wide. I think he's more likely to call when he's in late position, but when facing a raise, he's going to be folding. So we're looking at a lot of folds, expand it, and even this might be too narrow of a range to attack. However, we are in mid position. We do have all of our late position players. We've got 4 more players left to act, so I think we're going to go with this range. Just this is a good safe range. We've expanded it to attack the looseness of the player, the passivity of the player, and we're going to go from there. This guy calls. I've got 302 hands on him, and he's playing 26-13, small blinds at 37%. I think this is interesting because he's played more from the small blind than he did from the big blind. Normally that's reversed. Normally the small blind is pretty tight and then the big blind's pretty loose. Same thing it shows when we say call 2-bets. He's more likely to call 2-bet from the small blind than the big blind, which again is strange. It's the reverse of what you typically see. So we do see let's see the 3-bets. 3-bets at 3%. So he's going to be pretty tight with the 3-bets. And I put a range together like this, and we're going to eliminate the 3-bets range. So at least like queens plus ace king, I think he's going to 3-bet me. And that leaves all the rest of this. So let's look at his ranges, and I may have to add some more. So call 2-bet from the blinds, 10s to queens, 8s, 4s. So I'm going to say his pocket pairs, looks like queens are going to be in a calling range here. So we'll add that. We can see suited hands, queen jack. That's the only suited connector he has. He has 10-8. He's got jack 5. I think jack 5 must be an oddball one. That doesn't make sense. But then he has these offsuit 10s down to ace 5, and he has suited aces. I should say offsuit aces down to ace 5, and his suited aces goes to at least ace 7. So I'm going to say his suited aces probably go all the way down to ace 2, and then his offsuit might stop at like ace 5. Maybe they go to ace 2, but you see we have king 10 and queen 10 plus, which means we have our offsuit broadways. And if he has his offsuit broadways, we're going to have our suited broadways as well. So we know he has something at least like this, maybe 5-6. And I think this is going to be a pretty decent range to move forward. So as I said, that guy folds. We go to a flop. 10-7-5. So we flop top pair on a board that has a draw. Definitely have backdoor flush draws. We've got backdoor straight draws going. Dylan checks us. I'm going to say no big surprise, although he donks the flop 35% of the time, so 5 out of 14 he's led. I'm not sure if I would expect a donk at this point. I think maybe if it was a Jack 7-5 or a Queen 7-5, we might see a lead when they have a top pair with a weaker kicker, because he's trying to figure out, is he ahead. In this case, I don't think the 10's high enough. I don't think he's going to lead to try to play that game. I think he would rather just check call. So when T checks, we have to think about, well, what's going to be our checking range? What's going to be our value range? What's going to be our semi bluffing range? So we can see right now we don't have a huge number of hands here. We do have backdoor flush draws. We got 2-card, or we've got some straight draws as well. So I think what we can do, these are all pairs like 5, 6s, 8, 6. 8, 7. I think we're looking at like 9, 7, 9, 8. I think Jack 9, we're including it. I think once we get to the 10s, we're starting to get a little bit into the value range. I think Ace 5, Ace 7 would also be a little bit of the bluffing range. So we're at least 20% here. I don't quite think we're going to have enough here. So I think when we make these plays, we're going to look at some other, like, no made hands, pocket pairs. So maybe these low pocket pairs are probably also going to be bluffs. So if a 2, 3, or 4 comes out, I think that's going to be a good thing for us. Obviously, a 4 is going to put up a straight draw. Does he play 6, 8? If he does, good for him. But I don't think we could panic. The bottom pairs, I think, are less. I think we're going to include them as part of our value hands. I don't think we're going to bluff. Pocket pair less than the top card, I don't think we're going to be value betting them. At best, we're going to be top pair plus, so it's going to put us at about 50%. I think we're still a little short. So I think here we are going to have to look at these no-made hands. Maybe like do all 9/8s. I mean, we have those. Those are already on there. But like Jack 9, I think, where we've got a gut shot, that should also be there. Maybe like a suited Ace 8. Actually, we've got all of our backdoor flush draws there. Maybe just like the Ace 8 and Ace 9. Maybe the Ace Jack. We're going to have blockers with our Ace Jacks. Maybe King Jack and Queen Jack, something like this. I think that we should be betting up in like the 70% ranges. If we add King Queen, leave Ace Queen as like a check. So if an Ace or a Queen comes, he may think he's good. We've got a solid hand at that point. So I think this is probably going to be our C betting range. So we bet half pot. This is a good size. It might be best to go kind of in. I bet it's going to be mixed. Maybe the third, maybe the 2/3 on this board. When we think about hands that he's going to call with, we're going to give him all the pairs. We're going to give him the open-enders. So that's at 52%. So I kind of think if we go smaller, we have less risk. And I think he's still, higher bets aren't going to get us to fold more hands. I think if I go 2/3, he's not just going to arbitrarily fold middle pair or one of these pairs just because it's not a top pair hand, or just because we made a larger bet. So I think smaller bet's probably going to be a little bit better than a half pot bet. We could save a little bit of money. So I made that bet. He calls, turns the queen. So that actually improves us a bit. Gives us the straight draw. So what does villain do? Now he leads into us, and he leads at 1/4. And this almost seems like a blocking bet. It seems like a blocking bet. Like he's improved, and he doesn't want to face a bet of, let's say, 18, 3/4, or a bet of like 15. Would he do this with a flush draw or an open-ended straight draw? Maybe. I kind of think it's more like one of these, maybe the top pair, maybe the middle pair, maybe like Queen Jack. So that's not him. This is him. Maybe like a queen jack hand, like top pair type hand. That could, I think, could probably fit. I think a set's just gonna go for a set and two pair. I think it's just gonna go for check raises. Is there any combo draws? Like no, because you can't have like a queen nine, queen jack. It's still just a pair. They're not gonna be able to back into anything. But it could, oh, a diamond, maybe 10 jack of diamonds, 10 9 of diamonds, where they've got a pair with it with a diamond draw. So I think that could possibly happen. Maybe even the open ender. I think sets and two pair are going to check raise. I think a top pair hand probably improves and goes check call, and then maybe lead on the river. Maybe it's one of these other hands like jacks or jack 10. Now they bet to see, well, how good is my hand? Did the queen hurt me? I think maybe something like that is going to be what his range is. So then it's on to us. And what do we do? I don't think we're going to fold it. We've got open-ended straight. We only need 17% equity. Or we've got top pair with the 9. Second pair with a 9. I don't think it's folding right at this point. Because we do have the possibility that he was making this play with a flush draw to try to set the price that he's drawing. So I don't think we're necessarily going to be folding the middle pair or those, or like pocket pair, like the jacks. I think over pair sets we're going to have to raise. I think two pair are raising. So that's going to make, let's just color those. Sets and two pair we're raising. I think the over pair, we might not have enough other draws in on our range to balance the raise. So if we did flush draw and open ender, and even just a combo, you know, like 8-9 of diamonds. So if we're restricted to only those hands that have both a straight and a flush draw, then we're going to be raising with too many hands. We have a set. I think we need to be raising with the set here. So that's at least 14. So you take that out, and now our draws are fine. We'd have to find more weak hands. We're at 19% right now. So maybe we're going to take out some of these straights as a raise and just leave it at the flush draws. And that'll be the straights with, you know, yeah, straights with the flush draw. I think that's a good one. So I think that's going to be our check raising hand. This isn't in our check raising hand, so we're going to be calling. And I think that's suitable. So we just know we don't have our flush draw. There, flush draw. And I don't think we're calling with anything worse. I think middle pair is going to be the worst that we have, so we're calling it like 46%. River's the 8. It's actually not too bad. Not too bad a hand. I think if he checks, we have the possibility of betting to potentially rep the straight. I think Jack 9 could be there. We could have a two pair type hand, a 7-8. I think kind of makes sense. Somewhat makes sense. We'd have to call with that 7. I think that's the hindrance. Dude, we call with 10-8. That's tough. But I think Jack 9, I think maybe, you know, if we raise right now, we're representing maybe like a two pair, or at least a top pair at that point, maybe one of those over pairs. So he checks. He checks to us. He's not checking a straight. He's not checking a two pair. Maybe he is. We'll say just some percentage, say 50% chance that he checks two pair. But I do think he's getting scared of these cards. I think he might call with those and then fold with the rest. So we're looking at already over 50%. Middle pairs at that. We're at 10-9s right at the bottom of that pair range if he calls. Do I think he's going to call these other ones? No, probably not. So I think our best play is probably just a check check down with our hand. Since we're not, I don't expect to get a whole lot of value here. What do we do for our raises? I do think we can go for some value for the overpair. Aces and kings. I think pocket pair less than top card in the middle pair, I think are probably going to be used as a check. And unfortunately, we don't have a huge number of bluffs in our range. So maybe, if we just look at our weak pair here, like 9-8, if we turn that into a bluff, that's 7%. It means we're not gonna be able to bet all of our aces and kings. Some of our aces and some of our kings are gonna have to be checks. So maybe like we just do it with the kings. Do just something like that, or maybe just one combo of kings, two combos of kings. We'll need more combos of those, but only something like that. I think by having the aces, we block a lot of the ace-x diamond draws, or ace-x hands that might have. Well, no, because they could still have the diamonds, so never mind that. But we leave aces in their range and ace-x in their range that might call as a bluff catcher. So I check. I think that's okay. Again, if we're gonna bet, we're probably we're turning this into a bluff range, because I think if he calls our bet, we're gonna be behind. So he shows eights, and that was interesting. He actually rivered the 8. So if we go back to this hand, I said middle pair. I guess it was a flop. We said top pair, pocket pair less than the top card. We add those back in. And then queen of diamonds. Still keep pocket pair less. He donks with those. I mean, it makes sense. If we had the 9s on there, or I'm sorry, the 10s on there. So I guess if he has 8s, he may do the same thing. So we know for a fact he's not going to fold those. Somewhat surprised he didn't bet, but I think that justifies the 2 pair. My reason for not betting all the time. I think he gets scared. I think some players get scared of the straight. Or maybe he was being tricky and was looking to check raise it. So that's like one, if we bet on the river and get check raised, I don't think I have any issue with folding. Our hand's not super strong. So let's go to our hand. Our hand's not super strong. So like with our overpair, I think if I bet and I get raised, it's going to be tough for me. It would be tough for me to fold. I think I'd really have to consider he's that he has a hand. So maybe that might argue for checking behind with those hands and just checking behind with everything. So in any case, we were ahead, and then Villain caught on the river. He donked. He set the price for himself. I think if we raised on the turn, he's not going to be calling. So if we bet, he's not going to call. So he called. 5 big belly ISO from called. Let's see here, MP. Actually EP3. 5 BB ISO in small blind with 8 of hearts, 8 of diamonds. He is out of position. Check call 50%, and then he bet 25%, and then checked on 10 of hearts, 7 spades, 5 of diamonds boards, queen of diamonds, 8 of clubs. All right, so we've got that overall. I think I played the hand okay. I think our c-bet could have been a little bit smaller. He's not going to be. I don't think the larger size is going to generate the folds that would be beneficial. And I think he has hands that he's going to call with that really could put me in a bind. I don't think we want to build up a massive pot, even if an 8 comes on the turn. we're drawing to, you know, open ender, but it would be like a 1 card straight. Turn was questionable. He bet a quarter. Should we have raised? I don't think we should raise with our hand. I think we had better hands that we could raise with, both for value and with bluff. So, but I don't think we can necessarily fold our hand at that time. I guess if we don't fold, we have to plan that if he checks the turn, then we should go ahead and bet. So I think that's where this 10-9 comes into play. Probably betting the river. We're going to lose because he tripped up. But if he didn't, I think it would be hard for him to call. We've demonstrated we see bet. We called his bet, and now we bet the river again. We could easily have a queen. We could easily have a 10. I don't think he's going to fold. So I think that's probably what we need to do. When we thought about on the turn not folding, we need to set the plan that says, okay, if he checks to us, we're going to bet this river. And we're going to try to rep the queen or the 10. And I think this is going to be a decent hand to do so. Turn this hand into our bluff. All right, hopefully so you enjoyed this. If you do, look over the next 2 days for the next hand. Get posted. Talk to you later.